found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Past episodes of the Authentic Business Adventures program can be found in the podcast link at drawincustomers.com. We are locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Cademan, entrepreneur, author, speaker, and helpful coach to small business owners across the country. Today, we're welcoming / preparing to learn from Jordann Hartzheim, the owner of Trauma Apothecary. So Jordann, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show. So you have to tell me, because I'm afraid I don't know. I've heard the word. What is Trauma Apothecary?
So Trauma Apothecary is the business I created to help bring alternative wellness options to pretty much everybody, but focused on the veteran population.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So tell me, I guess you touched on a lot of things there. So let's start with the veteran and just work backwards.
Yeah. So with the veterans, it kind of just was one of those things that happens in life where, the universe talks and I listen. So I worked a lot with veterans. I do mortgages for my job, my actual, job before I got into entrepreneurism. And so I did a lot of networking with veterans. My grandpa was in World War II and his brother was actually MIA. So a lot of family history with veterans. And as I've been doing this work, like on my spiritual journey, I do a lot of herbal, natural medicine just in my own healing journey. I have several family members who have passed of cancer, and I just kind of vowed myself to do things the natural way because Mother Nature just gives us everything that we need. And as I was working, doing mortgages, I had more and more veterans coming to me and asking me, how do I get off my medications? How do I sleep at night? Like all of these things that they were dealing with. And there was, the VA does a great job, but the resources weren't as extensive or in depth as they needed. And they were struggling. So, I'm not a doctor, so I can't prescribe anything, but I committed that I would help them find the resources to get off the medications and to find different ways that they could find healing. And that's where the Trauma Apothecary came out of the woodworks, is because, if you think of an apothecary, you have all these little drawers and nice things to try out. And so I wanted to support the veteran community and also support the alternative wellness community, because it can be a lot of, it can be a struggle for a lot of them because, the mainstream medicine, hospitals and all of that, they aren't in there. So That's how it came into being.
All right. And how long ago did all this happen?
So I officially became an LLC last year, and it started probably a couple years ago.
Okay. And the whole apothecary thing, when I think of that, I think of herbs, plants, just all kinds of stuff like that. Is that more or less?
It is. And it's so much more too. So there's sound healing. There's a lot of healing modalities where you can use the vibration of sound to heal your body and to release certain blocks. Different healings like Theta. There's a lady that does Theta healing, and I'm actually certified to do some of these myself, where you go into the different brain waves and you connect into different levels. And, it sounds very crazy and esoteric, but a lot of people have really profound healing experiences from it. So in addition to the herbs and the medicine and the tinctures, there's also all of these other things that we have available to us, which is really cool.
All right. How do you get certified in the Theta stuff? I don't know what you got. Theta practice, I suppose.
Yep. So basically all you have to do is take a course. And then you learn exactly what it is and how to do it and how to hold space for somebody. So Theta healing, as you can imagine, if you go into like a higher, deeper level of your brain waves, there's different levels of trauma that we don't remember. That's, either in our DNA or in our history. And you have to be able to hold space for those people to process. And I think I can speak for everyone that we all have trauma of some sort that lives in our bodies that kind of is in our awareness, that also leads into our everyday life and how we make our decisions. So by healing those kinds of things, we can really empower and liberate ourselves to just be truly happy and healthy.
All right.
Yeah.
So from a business standpoint, starting your own business, your mortgage broker, as I guess, like you said, your job,
Yeah.
your job during the day, that's got to be busy. What made you decide to go off on your own now?
I've always enjoyed doing something like this, and from day one doing mortgages, I never thought it was my home. I'm a very free spirit. I like to travel. I don't really like the sales thing, but I'm really good at relationships and I really like to help people.
Mhm.
And I remember it was kind of like an existential crisis when I was doing mortgages. I'm like, this is just feels wrong. Like, I feel like I'm taking money from people, and it just seemed like there's a lot of people in the industry that don't do things the right way. We'll just say that. And I was feeling like an internal conflict, and I had this like coaching call with this spiritual guy. I don't remember his name or what he does anymore, but he said to me, he said, Jordann, you're exactly where you need to be on your path. We need spiritual people in every single industry. And so that just made me feel like it was my responsibility to look out for people in the industry and to be able to provide them a good level of experience, so they're not getting taken advantage of people who are in it to just make money.
All right.
So that's how I started getting into, helping these people. I started actually doing women's programs. I worked a lot with divorced women and helping them break out of, build their credit, buy a home, get back into like financial stability, because I myself was divorced. And so at that time I was connecting with all of these people, and they didn't know where to go after they were divorced. They didn't have a job history, they didn't have credit. And so they were kind of all on their own. And so that was my first experience in the spiritual side. And then I started doing yoga, and it's just been a continuous learning process in so many different areas of healing modalities.
All right. Are you drawn? Like, there's so many that I've talked to naturopaths, we got apothecaries, there's just a plethora of them. Are you drawn to any one, or do you find something specific in each one? Or I guess, how do you choose what path you use to help a person with a given issue?
It's a great question. I think part of it's intuitively, and I think there's value in all of them. Definitely the one in my personal journey that has just been the most profound practice that encompasses everything, with the issues and the resolution, has been Kundalini Yoga. And a lot of people aren't familiar with Kundalini Yoga. Yeah. And if they are, they're probably scared of it, because there's a lot of people just don't know how it works. So if people don't know how it works, there's kind of this fear around it, of it being too esoteric and all of that. So basically what Kundalini Yoga is, it's the rising energy of the Kundalini Yoga in your spine. So we have these chakras that are in our body, and the Kundalini Yoga helps that energy rise up. And so oftentimes we have these blocks in our body that doesn't facilitate the energy moving properly as it should. And so Kundalini Yoga is a combination of breath work, of movement, of chanting and sound. And we have all of these meridians in our body. So by activating different points, we can release certain thought patterns. If you or your listeners know of Dr. Joe Dispenza, where he talks about, the neurons that wire together, fire together, wire together. So it breaks up that wiring neurons, and it creates new thought form patterns to help us create more of a positive, joyful, motivated, energizing life. And it has been transformational for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is this something that you found the practice locally, or did you find this type of yoga? I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it. Did you find this yoga and then had to figure out how to do it on your own, since you couldn't find someone locally?
Yeah, great question. I actually found it through Gaia TV, and Gaia is like a Netflix for spirituality. And they had a lady, Guru Jagat, who is an infamous Kundalini yoga teacher, and she was out of Venice, California. She also has studios in New York and Mallorca, Spain. And I just resonated with her so much. She was one of those really vibrant people, and she actually passed away last month.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
But yeah. So she was just, she inspired a lot of people, and she just continuously encourages me to continue on the path. And it was the only yoga practice that I felt called to learn, because not only is, like I mentioned, those physical levels, but there's so much wisdom and like ancient technology that's really been passed down the philosophy of it. So there's so much to learn that's endless. And I'm one of the types of people that I really like to understand. And so that's why I have my white headband on. So it really, you amplify the aura. There's so many things that you can do with it. And so I ended up taking the training course and to be a Kundalini Yoga teacher. And I'm going to be continuing the teacher training so I can start teaching people here.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you got to tell me about the white thing on your head.
Yeah. So this beauty is a turban. So in Kundalini Yoga, tradition says, when we wear white, it expands our aura 6 feet. And so I'm not wearing white right now, but for my yoga practice, I always do. And then the turban, what it does is it actually holds the plates of your head together. Okay. And so, and so my yoga teachers, they like to say, not only does it hold back your face and keep you looking young, but also you have your pineal gland that's right in your head there between your eyebrows. And your pineal gland is what activates your creativity and helps you expand your thinking. Whereas, sometimes we can get down in the darkness and not really have that spark, so to speak. And so this helps you connect, I feel like for me in my practice, it helps me go deeper in my practice. And then just a reminder in day-to-day life.
All right. So you wear that every day now?
Yeah, basically.
Every day, all day?
I try to, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You have different ones for different occasions?
So sometimes I'll just wear a headband, sometimes I'll wrap it differently. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it. And
all right, interesting. So let's talk more about the business. How do you market what you do? Because I imagine there's probably quite a few people that you talk to that are skeptical, or they're like, hey, I'm taking 500 pills, I don't need someone else, or whatever. I guess, how do you market your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm still working on that. It is really
we all
challenging.
Are. It's okay.
Yeah. It's right now I've been, just kind of, it's a constant development of what you want the business to be. So right now, I just have different networking groups that I'm a part of, and I speak to a lot of people, and a lot of people know me and know, like, I can't help myself. So if somebody talks about, something that they're having issues with, I just know instantly all these different remedies. And so it's kind of what I'm known for amongst my friends and family. And then also now I've been exploring like how to take it to the next level of partnering with different organizations. And what I would love to do is have kind of like an insurance company. So partnering with larger companies and corporations to offer this to their business as an entity to help them bring in more alignment and success to their business. Because really these practices, they help not only the high level employees, but also the employees down here or wherever stay satisfied, happy, and healthy. And so we'll see how that integrates into it, but I definitely see it going into something like retreats and partnering with more of like the corporate style of business. And I feel like, especially with COVID over the past year, we're seeing more and more companies want to be able to offer these solutions for their employees, because a lot of employees now, they don't want to work. Like, why do they have to go back and sit in their cubicle if they're not feeling fulfilled? They don't feel like they have a purposeful life. And I know a lot of people that I talk to too, they're sick of their 9 to 5. They can't do the cyclical job anymore. So it's really useful for that.
All right. Is the intention with this business to be able to walk away from your current job eventually?
Probably. I still have a little piece of my heart in mortgages for a lot of my clients, and I do want to be able to be there for them. But there are some places in the industry, or a couple people in the industry that I really trust as far as doing business the right way. So I could see myself either keeping one foot in the door just for those special people, or partnering with somebody and entrusting them with it so I can focus on, depending on how the business goes, right, too. So there's lots of different ways it can go. I'm just kind of trusting that the right thing will happen and I'll end up in the right place.
Sure. What would you like to have happen?
I would like to be a full-on business entrepreneur. there's just so much stress in mortgages, and there's enough stress in business and owning a business as it is. So I think that when you kind of branch into all those different places, you start spreading yourself too thin. So I want to make sure I'm showing up at my full capacity.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the clients that you've helped, are the majority of them something where it's a routine where you have to help them over the course of time, much like push-ups? Or is it more like, hey, you visit with me a few times, now you're all fixed, go and be awesome?
It's both. And
Okay.
my philosophy is that come as you are. So as long as you're coming, I'm happy. Obviously with these types of things, and you can probably relate as a coach, the longer we do things, the more benefit we see out of it. And so ultimately I'd like to help my clients move out of the need for whatever they're relying on, but it depends on the situation. Some people, they just have, maybe a stomach issue that they're trying to figure out, versus somebody else, they just want a mentorship type thing where they want somebody to keep them accountable, and they want someone to help them with their health and sustainability, fitness, all those kinds of things. So it's both. It's kind of what I feel is best for them, but also they can only show up as much as they want to show up.
Right. That's fair. What have been some of the challenges that you've experienced starting the business, keeping it going, all that jazz that you did not anticipate?
I would say bringing it to Madison, honestly. So the reason I'm in Madison is because I think Madison is so progressive and thought forward. And, you'd be surprised with how many people are still kind of stuck in that paradigm of wherever they're in. So for as open as it is, I still feel that a lot of people are closed-minded in, what they want to talk to about. And I also have my own podcast where I try to feature local businesses, and some of the businesses that I really thought would be a good fit in, as far as supporting them, because everything that I do is free. There's no cost. And they're just like, nope, we don't want anything to do with it. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. So yeah, I would say
like they think that that's so weird. I'm like, what would they think? I don't have an answer there. So they essentially, they don't want to be on your podcast because you're not such Western type medicine, or I guess help me understand.
I don't know. I just, I didn't really inquire too much. It was kind of a weird situation with this one in particular. And I'm just like, you know what, it's okay. If it's not a good fit, I understand. And, if there's that much resistance with anything, I just kind of let it go, because my energy is much better used somewhere else. So yeah, it's interesting. And especially with the Kundalini Yoga, that's one of the things too, where you would think that the yoga community would be really open to it. And the yoga community doesn't really want to get into it because for whatever reason, I think that there's, again, like I was saying before, some type of thought or belief that it's dangerous, but it's not true. It's not dangerous at all. You just can't be using substances while you're doing it, because you're using the energy in your body and you're activating these chemicals. So it's 100% safe, but I've actually been partnering a lot with different gyms, and with my sound baths, I'm looking at talking to hotels and seeing if they want to offer it to their clientele there. So it's just interesting what you come across and different assumptions that I had before starting of what I would experience. So it's just shifted things, and I think it's all for the better there. Because it's really new. A lot of what I'm doing is really new and has never been here before.
What? Tell me about the danger part with the yoga that you were mentioning. Why would they think it was dangerous?
It's a great question. I'm not sure if this was something that was kind of just put out there as what's a good comparison. When there's like false propaganda around something for no reason, like when somebody gets really famous, there's always something about it. And so I think, as far as my research that I've done, there was a Kundalini teacher that brought Kundalini over to the West from India. And his name was Yogi Bhajan. And after he died, there was tons of claims of sexual harassment and all of that with him. But, who knows if that's true or not.
Right.
For my own personal experience, I have to check in with my own body. And when that came across, I was like, oh my gosh, like, that's kind of weird. And I don't want to participate in that. And at the end of the day, there was nothing that I had learned about Kundalini Yoga, about this individual, that had indicated that something like that would have happened, except for the fact that people were just trying to dissuade away from Kundalini Yoga for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And in my practice, what I've experienced with Kundalini Yoga is just 100% positive. So that's a great question. I don't know why that would be out there, but it's a concern among a lot of the yoga community.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a tiny bit of yoga. I'm
down
not
dog.
good at yoga at all. And I was like, I can't picture it being dangerous.
Yeah.
I can picture it being painful, and I can picture it being frustrating, but dangerous and yoga just seem like not belonging in the same sentence, I guess, as far as that goes.
Right. Yeah, I think with every practice, you have to watch like your boundaries of what your physical capacities are. Some people push themselves too hard in positions that maybe could be damaging to their body. But I think that's with anything. If you're not respecting your body, you're probably going to get hurt.
Fair.
The other thing is there's what's called the Kundalini Awakening. Have you heard of that?
I have not.
So basically, it's like, I don't know if I've had one before, but it's like supposed to be like this expansive, like consciousness awareness, when you're woke, and people describe it as like almost like this orgasmic feeling through your body of like all white and expansiveness. And so I think some people might have some type of fear around that hurting them, around that Kundalini energy, but Kundalini is just really energy, and we're energetic beings. If you believe in chakras, if you believe in science, then, and some people don't, and that's okay, but I think the more that people learn about it, the easier it is to understand and work with.
Yeah. The whole energy thing, it's, I guess it is what I would consider to be an odd thing. Because essentially the whole Einstein thing, matter is energy, all that jazz. And I can certainly tell when someone is angry with me or upset with me or frustrated with me or even happy with me before they say anything. Sometimes when they're not even in the same room, you can just feel before the phone rings, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's something that's unseen that is going on.
Right.
That said, it's unseen, so people have a very hard time trusting it, let alone understanding it, if anybody really understands it. So it's a challenging thing. So I could see how that would be a hard sell for someone, like, look, just understand. But on the flip side, it's real. So there's something to be said about that as far as progress goes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Have you ever had it where you were just thinking about a friend and then they call you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a similar thing. And I think with a lot of these practices, whether it's Kundalini Yoga, whether it's some type of alternative healing, people will notice something, they'll notice like, ooh, that's interesting, or that sounds cool. They'll feel a like draw or a pull to it if it's right for them. And I think the biggest thing is just honoring and trusting that and just exploring it. Like, you don't have to commit to it. You don't have to like end all be all, it's just kind of cool to see like, oh, what's that all about? Why am I interested in this? And maybe there's something more to it.
Yeah. Interesting. So when you practice with people, is it over the phone, over Zoom, in person?
It's mostly over Zoom right now.
Okay.
So I do in person, but most of it is online. So the Reiki practitioner, so me personally, I do it online. I do the Reiki practicing. And so with the Reiki, I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's a form of energy healing.
I know like how to spell it.
Okay. Yeah. So it's just a Japanese form of energy healing. And so the practitioner, it's kind of like type of massage, you can do hands on or hands off, but as long as you have some type of representation of the body. You can work with it anywhere. So I just had one this last week with one of my friends in California who wasn't able to come back. And, if you're familiar with quantum energy, everything's quantum. So it doesn't matter where you're physically at. You can do it anywhere. Same thing with yoga. People are practicing yoga from YouTube and all of that, but personally, I prefer to do the in-person practices because one of the parts of that I think is medicine is community. And so being in the energetic field of other people and being able to talk to them and, share what's going on with your day is really important, especially these times where, there's a lot of fear and uncertainty. And so it's nice to just have somewhere to come and know that it's a safe space and have other people there who enjoy doing the same thing as you.
That's fair. That's fair. I can tell you, I guess the podcast interviews, Zoom versus in person, it's just a different energy. I mean, it's still good, but in person, it's different, arguably dramatically better. But
did you just start doing it online with COVID?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. We originally, let me think about this. It's been going on a few years. We originally started as audio only, and they were in person, but they were in person in our radio studio, a very small radio studio. So sometimes you get multiple guests, and that was probably too close.
Cozy.
Yeah, it was just, there's equipment, it's hot, and it's just, not comfortable. When they closed the studio because of COVID and all that jazz, I actually created a studio in my office because at the time I had employees that went remote. So I had all the space that I was paying for. So I said, hey, let's have this in person and let's add video if they're going to be around. Yeah, they're in the radio studio. The studio was too small for you to even put a camera to get everybody.
Oh, wow.
I don't know, it was 5x6 or 5x8 with whatever it was. It was tiny and you could not, we tried to put its camera way up high and it's just dopey.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah. So anyways, I get my studio, camera, all that jazz. It's a whole different world. It's better. Now the studio's open. We get into the TV studio at the media center and it's just better. It's more professional. There's a whole body language thing, head to toe essentially that you're getting from people. And there's just an energy. You're within whatever 6-10 feet of someone. You can just tell.
Right.
Yeah, it helps. But that said, Zoom is very progressive as well. You can get a lot done. I wonder if this were to happen 10 years ago, it would be a different story.
Oh, yeah. It was interesting.
This conversation over a phone.
Yeah. Technology's gotten crazy.
Yeah. So, but yes, overall, in person is much better. As far as Reiki goes, is that something where you're kind of moving hands or moving stones, something like that?
Yep, exactly. So basically, Reiki is the ethers of the sun and the sky, and then Ki is the earth. So basically, Reiki is transferring the energy from the sky down to the earth, and Reiki practitioners are just a channel to do so.
All right.
So my hands, they're not magic or anything, although some people say they are.
They probably do.
They're just channeling. And so, I do Reiki on myself. I do Reiki on my plants. You can do it to anything. One of my Reiki teachers, she does Reiki in traffic. So
that's
anyone can do it. Yeah.
You're stuck in the belt line or on the interstate. You can just be like,
yeah.
Does it work?
Honestly, I've never really used it like that.
You feel
it's not the first thing I think of. Yeah, I mean, there's other things I do for that. I have sage and smudge and everything, but traffic hasn't really been what I use it for.
Hasn't been the goal to solve the traffic issue.
Not for me.
So tell me about the Reiki thing. Well, let's just shift to plants here. You do Reiki on plants.
Yeah.
So just walk me through a Reiki session on, let's say, the plant that you have behind you there.
So basically, there's different symbols in Reiki that you can do.
Okay.
Or it's a lot of it's just about your intention. So if I have a plant that's dying, I'll just put my hands around it and center in and direct my healing energy and positive thoughts to it.
All right.
And then other times, if they are healthy, I'll just walk by them and touch them and tell them how beautiful they are. So, I mean,
right.
Anybody can do things like that. And there's actually a book called The Secret Life of Plants, which is very interesting. And plants have feelings, is what this says. And there's all kinds of research that proves this. And what I got out of part of it is basically plants are aliens and they communicate with each other. And one of my favorite facts from this book, going on a tangent, is that our plants are connected with us. And they did this study of, they put sensors on the plants. And when something negative happened to the plant owner, it was 100 kilometers away, the plant also reacted negatively.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yep.
That's
So,
part of that whole, like, we know it's real, but it's still kind of spooky.
Right? It's one to wrap your
it.
head around.
Yeah. Interesting. So does that mean if a good thing happens to you, then the plant reacts positively?
I would assume so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And when you're doing Reiki with someone, does someone come to your house, or do you go to their office, or how does that work? I guess the in-person Reiki.
Yeah. So there's a studio where
Okay.
everything's set up, and then there's the ambience and everything.
Okay.
So they can either come in there, or you can set it up virtually. Some people, even if they're in Madison, they just prefer to do it virtually, so they can be in their own bed and be comfortable, which is fine. But either way, like I said before, you're getting the same benefits.
So I'm sorry, you just got to walk me through this, because I'm just a big dumb animal here. So they are laying in their bed and they just have you essentially on their phone?
Yeah. So basically for a virtual session, I guide them through like how to set up a session at their house. So they're laying on their back, kind of like they would be at a massage,
okay.
But also for Reiki, there's a lot of emotions that can come up. So I try to make it as comforting as possible.
Okay.
Grabbing cozy blankets or anything, but basically they have to be on their back in a position where I can feel where different energy is. Like if they're crossed up and all of that, there's going to be interfering wires, so to speak. As long as that's set up, I encourage them to have anything that they like around, any crystals, like sage, candles, things like that.
So is there music?
There can be, yeah.
Do they put it on? I'm totally, this is totally new to me. And I'm just full of curiosity.
No, it's a good question. So, I mean, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I think it depends on also myself and the person. I actually lean towards not putting on music, just because I enjoy stillness.
All right. And when you tell me about the emotions that can come out.
Yeah. So with the different energy centers in our bodies, we have our chakras, and we also have a lot of different energy points in our body, meridians and tissue. We store things in our body. So if we have an emotion like anger, let's say, that we don't express, or we just push it down, that gets stored physically in our body.
Okay.
And there's certain points in our body that have more emotion than others. And so, and it's also very relaxing. Like, it's kind of, the energy from up there coming down here. So it's like this almost like God, like pure energy. And, whether you believe in God or not, whatever you want to call it, it's that pure energy that's coming through. And so a lot of people experience for the first time, like that pure love, so that coming through their body and experiencing that can bring up a lot of emotions. It's super relaxing. So, they feel like they're in a safe space where things can kind of come through. And, it's really just kind of crazy. Another one of those things that there's not really a whole lot of science behind it. But I remember my first Reiki session. I had some people see things, I don't see things. My Reiki practitioner saw things. She said there was a bunch of like trolls and fairies all around. And then there was a dragon that came out, that like one of my spirit animals, and tried to protect me. And she just told me afterwards, she was just telling me about it, and I just started bawling. I'm like, what is happening? Like, I don't even know. So there's just like this huge change of energy, and I think that causes like an uprise of emotions. So you'll
Oh,
have to try it sometime.
yeah. So do you have people with all this hidden anger or something all of a sudden get mad or scream or yell or something?
No,
Or
no,
they're
there's
just
sometimes
like, that's interesting. Or,
yeah, I don't think like I don't know, I've never had anger come up where someone gets really like angry. I think it's more so like, well, because anger actually comes from being mad at ourselves for not being able to express ourselves.
okay.
So it's actually self-directed. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but a lot of like, I've had people where they like have like outbursts of energy that's coming through their body, and so they'll like kind of like gasp and like make noises like that.
Oh,
Yeah, but that's about it.
all right.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So when you, man, I got a million questions here. Let me sort them out in my head here. What would someone come to you for in regard? Let's talk about Reiki specifically. Someone comes to you with an issue or something that they want to solve or fix or help. Just give me an example of what it is that they're trying to accomplish with a Reiki session.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think I'll preface that with, the only person that can really heal is themselves.
Okay.
So I am really just facilitating that.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to your question, what would somebody come to me to help heal?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of things, a lot of people have like depression, anxiety. Personally, when I first did Reiki or first experienced Reiki, I would just get so angry at people, like I'd snap at people.
While you were
And
doing Reiki,
no,
or no?
no,
Okay.
before I went to Reiki, and I was
Before.
like,
Okay.
yeah, I need to figure something out. I'm like, why am I getting so mad all the time? I
Uh,
got a short fuse.
all right.
And so went to Reiki. So a lot of emotional things, for physical ailments. So, some people have back problems, knee problems. Um, and yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So they're coming to you because they understand that there's an issue and they're hoping that you can help them essentially solve that issue.
Yeah.
Is it typically an emotional issue or is it physical or is it a mix?
Um, well, so if you're asking my personal opinion,
Totally. You're the one.
I think that all of our physical ailments come from non-physical. So we have our physical
Fair.
body, and we also have our non-physical body. And so our physical body is just an extension of that. And so when we have these issues out here that we can't see, again, they're going to manifest in our body in the 3D. So I think that, whether I say that to somebody or not, it's just kind of based on the client that I'm working with. But at the end of the day, I think everything has to do with emotions. And, sometimes the knee isn't necessarily pain that's caused from the knee, from a physical standpoint. I'm not a physical trainer or anything either, but
Right.
sometimes it does come from the hips or like tightness in other places. But the energy just goes where it needs to go.
Totally fair. I can remember every time since I would say that I learned about stuff like this, let's call in the past 5-10 years, I can tell when I feel like I'm getting sick, I always ask myself, what am I stressing about? And usually you can think of like, oh yeah, got to solve that problem and therefore prevent or at least resolve the whole feeling sick part.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
interesting.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't overnight. That took a long time.
Interesting.
That's just experience has taught me stuff like that, which I imagine everybody else has their own experience, what they learn. Maybe NyQuil is their solution instead of figuring out what's giving them a problem. But
well, that's impressive.
I never thought swallowing something green, that not natural green was going to help me with what the real problem was. So I figured there's got to be more of a foundation to that issue than a lack of yellow number 5 in my body or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah. Tell me about the other portions. So you got the Reiki, you have the yoga. Are there other things that you do as well?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I do. And so when I do my mentorship, I can kind of feel into like what different people need. But as far as like my general services, it's primarily Kundalini Yoga and the Reiki and sound baths. So I also do the sound healing as well.
Tell me about that quick.
The sound bath,
Yeah.
so it is another sound healing technique. So they're basically all of these bowls, these crystal bowls, and they also have another type, Tibetan bowls, and so many other kinds. But the bowls hold a certain vibration. So if you've ever played like a finger around a glass crystal, glass, you have those sounds. And so they've created these glass bowls to be associated with a sound, and the sound in each bowl is associated with a chakra in your body. And so, it's really cool because you don't have to know anything or do anything. So basically in the sound baths, or, I use the bowls in the Reiki as well, because the bowls will actually pick up where the blocks are in the body and they'll take it out.
Wow.
Yeah. And so for the sound bath, so all you have to do is come in, lay down. It's pretty much like a meditation, but the bowls are doing all of the work with the vibration. They're clearing out the space physically in your body, because like if you can imagine, if you've ever seen the sand or water on top of speakers where they're playing music, and it shows different frequencies and they make shapes. So basically that's what it's doing in your body, is it's clearing out, any viruses. It helps your immunity, it helps you sleep better, helps you de-stress, helps with depression. Like the list just goes on and on. And there's this one guy that actually says that sound is the future of medicine, which is really interesting, because if you think about it, it all comes down to numbers, as far as like the sacred symbolism and all of that. So it goes really deep, but essentially people come in, they lay down for the bath, and then they just absorb it. And it's just super healing for the body. You leave really relaxed, and it's so easy.
How do you know what bowls to use for a given person?
Intuitively, really. So I know which bowls are associated with each chakra. So maybe if there is a certain chakra that they're having issues with. So if somebody comes in and is having problems communicating with their partner or at work, maybe there's a block in the throat chakra. And by using the throat chakra bowl, you can see if there's a block. The bowls play differently. So if I'm in a session and I hold a bowl and play it, there's a certain sound that it plays normally, and then a different sound if that particular one is blocked. And so by continuing to play it until it releases back to its original sound, that's when it's cleared.
All right. Wow.
Yeah.
And something like that, how long of a session are we talking here? Is that 5 minutes, 2 hours?
Yeah, so it depends. With the sound baths, they're about an hour. If I'm doing it with, an individual practitioner or an individual client, it depends on their needs. So I just kind of assess that on a case-by-case basis. Sometimes it's just a few minutes, or maybe I spend a lot longer using the bowls if they need a little bit more relaxing and clearing.
All right. Interesting. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's impressive. So Jordann, how can people find you?
So a lot of different ways. So I am primarily sharing a lot on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
So my Instagram is Happy Healthy Hearts, HARTZ. And there's a lot of teachings that I put on there of some of the work that I do in my personal mentorship. My website is BeJOY.store. And that's still a work in progress. So if you go there and you see something you like and it's not working, just email me. There's the email contact button right in there, or you can subscribe and you can be up to date on all the latest offerings that I have. So there you go.
Nice. That's super cool.
Yeah.
So I guess, what do you expect for your business over the course of the next year?
Great question. Well, I would love to see a physical space here in Madison. I've pictured either, a mobile space, but some type of a sanctuary, so I can offer all of these things to people and then just make it easier for them to do all of it. I'll take care of all of it. They can just come in a community and experience whatever it is that they need.
Nice. And do you have a place in mind, or is it east, west, or still not sure?
No. No, whatever happens. I think just strategically, where would be the best spot for that? I would love to see somewhere a little bit more out of the city. So there's like a little bit more nature to maybe do outdoor ceremonies or, yoga or whatever.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Yes.
Well, congratulations on starting your new business, Jordann. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You had great questions.
That had to be a big step.
Yeah.
To decide, hey, man, it's time to go do it on your own kind of thing. It's a big decision.
Yeah. I told myself it was too hard not to. There's too many things that kept coming up, and I'm capable enough to do it. So if not me, then who?
I love that. It's too hard not to. I always tell my students that, man, you owe it to the world to do this. So if you don't do it, you're actually doing a disservice to the world.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's awesome. Great motivation. I love that. This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We're underwritten locally by the Bank of Sun Prairie. If you are listening or watching this on the web, if you could do us a huge favor, hit that like button, subscribe, comment, and of course, share it with all your entrepreneurial friends. My name is James Kateman, and Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering and receptionist services for service businesses across the country on the web at callsoncall.com, as well as Draw In Customers Business Coaching, offering business coaching services for entrepreneurs looking for growth on the web at drawincustomers.com. And of course, the Bold Business Book, a book for the entrepreneur and all of us, available wherever fine books are sold. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Jordann Hartzheim, the owner of Trauma Apothecary. Jordann, can you tell us one more time where people can find you?
My website is BeJOY.store, and that's spelled BeJoy. And my Instagram is Happy Healthy Hearts, HARTZ on Instagram. And that's also Facebook too.
Awesome. I love it. Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night. The podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. I want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, you know what to do. Enjoy your business.